sunny day. The lake is like glass. There's absolutely no wind. The sails are just, we're dead in the water. Nothing is moving. And we're punch drunk, and we're acting really silly because we're giddy. And the sailing instructor, I forgot to say, he looked like a California surfer guy. Okay? And we were, what, 18, 17? Anyway, he comes along in this boat, and he's at a good clip. He's at a good clip, and he's sailing away, and he says, "Come on, girls, like, you know, do what you're supposed to do." And we said, well, I said to him, "There's no wind. Like, how can you sail when there's no wind?" He said, "Anybody can sail when there's wind. Only an expert can sail when there's no wind." And the proof was he was sailing. There was no wind, and he was moving fast. How? I don't know. So, this is the point, that very often we need to sail without wind. We must move forward without this wind. So I really became a teacher by being a learner, by learning from all these other experiences which were really outside of the classroom in a sense. They were experiences that I've had in life, this is just a few of them, that helped me to become a teacher, a learner and then a teacher. And also, we want our students to be lifelong learners. That's really very important. It's not that we want to teach our students a curriculum. Learn this, learn how to multiply, learn how to divide, but learn how to learn. And learn how to love learning, so that you just can't wait. You know, not that you just can't wait to get to school, that'd be wonderful too, but when you get home that you just can't wait, not so much to turn on the computer or the TV, but to find an experience in which you can learn. And that's what we're trying to do for our students. So one of the things that I've been trying to use, because I like to play with toys, is learning how the technology that we have in our hands now can add value to what we can do inside and outside of the classroom. Not just, let's, instead of writing on the blackboard, for example, in today's lecture, if I found it more useful to use a whiteboard and pen, I would have. That is, how does this technology add value rather than drawing or writing? Sometimes the chalk is what you need. Sometimes the whiteboard is what you need. But sometimes this is helpful. And we'll see why. One of the things we need to think about is how to use this technology so that we can free up the classroom to do what needs to be done in the classroom. There are things that can only be done in the classroom. When you get a group of students together, all the same age more or less, and put them in a room for an hour, and they have your attention, well, in an ideal situation. Then you say, what can I do in this classroom situation? What can I free up from download outside the classroom so that I can do something else in the classroom? And I teach at the university level, and one of the things that I've been thinking about is how do we teach beyond the classroom and outside of the class hours? And not only that, outside of the curriculum period, that is, our courses are from, let's say, September to December. December, they write an exam, they forget everything? No. What I want is for the students to remember and to continue the learning outside the classroom, to continue it after the course is finished. Your students are all on summer vacation. I mean, I'm not expecting them to do math exercises, but there are ways in which learning can continue outside the classroom. This is something that a teacher who was a friend of mine told me. One of the earliest things I learned about teaching, she said, one cannot really teach, one can only provide opportunities for learning. And if you turn the focus to the student and not say, I have this curriculum and I absolutely must deliver the curriculum to the student. The idea is, what kinds of opportunities for learning can you provide for the students? So now I'm going to be more concrete, why I do what I do. So what do I do? First of all, for the longest time, I love using audio and video in my classes. I teach English as a second language. I teach composition in English to students whose first language is not English. And I teach American culture, that is the history of the United States from 1945 to the present. And since I grew up, I was a child of the 50s and 60s, I grew up watching TV. My father had a store in which he sold television sets. We always had the most advanced TV sets. I just am a TV freak, and I love using audio and video in class. So why do I do it? Well, it provides something real, reality, what is real. And it used to be that I have to run with the cassette and the VCR, and it was all over. It was horrible, okay, because you know what the technology is like. But now that I've got podcasts and YouTube, etc., I don't have to struggle with this. And the students can watch this outside of class. They can watch it. So if they say, what did I miss, or I didn't come to class, or I didn't know, that's no excuse. It's there. The material is there. Well, I use email, obviously. I mean, this is something that's very obvious. But one of the reasons I do is to maintain the contact with the student beyond the class time. I'm not sure what kinds of structures of technology you have in your different organizations, etc. But I, for example, have a automatic email list of the students. That is, it's just an address. It'll say English 1, 2004, for example, and that's all the students. So I don't have to remember a lot of email addresses. So if outside the class hours, after the class, when the course is finished, if I want to send them a message, I can just send them a message. And the list usually goes on for about 6 or 8 months after the course is over. So that's just one example. I use a course management system. We use WebCT, but there are many, many others. There's Moodle, there's Blackboard, there's Angel, there's all kinds of things. And why do I use a course management system? I found it's a very good way for me to incorporate multimedia, and especially in my course on American culture, when I want, for example, my students to be able to watch famous speeches like Martin Luther King and JFK and Obama's famous speeches. It's a way for me to organize this and say, here's this material, please look at it and watch it, among other things. I like to use the chat module, instant messaging, and that is for immediacy. That is, when something is happening, immediately, even if it's not happening during the class time, we can react to it. I have 2 examples I'll show you. One is that during the American elections, the evening of November the 4th or whatever it was, my students and I were all online at the same time at our respective homes, and we were chatting and reacting, and I'll show you some of the transcript. Another chat experience I had was last year, about a year ago, in June. I was in Finland. I was mentioning this at dinner time, and I missed a class because I took a week off to go to Finland. It's another story. But I had arranged that my students would meet at 9 o'clock in the morning, wherever. I said, you can come to the lab at school, you can be at home in your pajamas, I don't care. I found a computer, and we had a 2-hour class online by chatting. So they didn't miss the class, just that I wasn't there, physically. I also use what's known as social bookmarking. I use a site called Delicious. It's easy to remember. There are many different sites. I'm going to show you my site in a moment. And what I do, why do I do that? It's to help my students have contact with me beyond and outside the class. A social bookmarking site is very simply a place where you can save all of the websites that you like, and you save them on the web. Because if you save them on your computer and you don't have your computer, you're not going to remember. And everybody, you have favorites, you have bookmarks, right? So if later we have some time, I can go online and show you what that looks like. And I recently started a blog. And the reason I started a blog was that one of my students used a blog. And I said, wow, this is interesting. And so I'll give you my blog address, and you can read my blog. And I don't think that it's at this point so terrifically interesting, but I'm just experimenting with what this blog can do for me and why it's my own reflections. So these are the things that I do, more or less, and this is why I do it. And now I'm just experimenting now with my flip camera, my new video camera, which I'll show you later. And I'm going to see how this device can also be used in the classroom, if possible.